Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with the crew. We have Ashley Hicks, Joe Courtney, and Kyle Schrum. How's everyone doing?
Good morning.
Pretty good.
Tired.
Yeah. It's irrelevant. Yeah, I was tired yesterday, and I'm not going to say why. That's it. We're just going to get into...
You're not allowed to tell us anymore.
Yeah,
exactly.
Not allowed. It's old habits die hard. All right. So what kind of, bro science are we working through this week here with the coaches? And I don't know, trying to change your perception on how maybe you track things or how good you think you are at tracking things and how much it even matters when it comes to your diet and nutrition. So we're going to get into a study that has a lot to do with energy intake, how you estimate those things, and really if it even matters. I want to get into my takeaway, my personal takeaway, and not so much the takeaway of what they found in the study, because I think that this goes like if you have a weight loss goal, muscle gain goal, there's a lot less science involved than you realize, even though you can get very mathematical with this stuff, and we'll talk about all of it. So this study, the title is Underreporting of Energy Intake in Weight Loss Maintainers. It was done in 2021. And it was a secondary analysis of data from research carried out at the University of Colorado from 2009 to 2012. They had a lot of ways to exclude people from participation, if they restricted physical activity, if they were taking weight loss medication, had done a lot of fasting, weight loss surgery, all these things. And it looked like it was, am I correct in saying primarily females?
Yeah, there's a lot of ladies.
Yes.
Yeah. So the group consisted of 32 to 57-year-olds who were mainly female and some male participants. And the purpose of the study was to compare objective measurements of total daily energy intake with self-reported energy intake in three groups: individuals maintaining at least 30 pounds of weight loss for 1 year, individuals with a BMI over 25 not maintaining weight loss of 30 pounds or more, and individuals with a BMI under 25 without a history of obesity. And so it was a secondary analysis of something that happened earlier. So the study was carried out over a period of 8 days, during which the participants completed a bunch of stuff. They had 7-day physical activity measured by accelerometer, 3-day diary consisting of 2 weekdays and 1 weekend day, energy expenditure assessment via the doubly labeled water method, and then they did indirect calorimetry to determine resting energy expenditure and event via ventilated hood. I don't know if you guys have seen one of these. Sorry for the pronunciation there, but you look like you're in a spacesuit. You get in it, you lay down, and they put like what looks like a spacesuit over your body, and then you seriously just lay there. And it's like measuring your oxygen intake and all these other things. And you're not supposed to move a lot. And what it does is it gives you a very accurate measurement of kind of what more of your resting metabolic rate. Because we all have to, always like, oh, I'm active. Maybe this is my RMR or whatever. It gives you a very accurate version of that. And then they did height, weight, body composition. And that was measured by a DEXA machine. And then they had a questionnaire. And really, I I won't jump into the end result. We will do that in a second. So they're really just trying to assess how people self-report, how, like what they think they're taking in calorie wise versus what they actually are, and how that contributes to movement and other things is what we'll discuss. So, what did everyone think about this um, somewhat complicated study? I think because it was an analysis of previous studies. But what do you guys think?
So the three groups that they were looking at for the uh, estimation for the calories and stuff were people with BMI over 25 who had lost 30 pounds over a year ago. So they lost weight and they were trying to maintain that with their diet. Then there were people that were over the BMI over 25 pounds that hadn't had a recent weight loss. And then people with under 25 BMI with no history of being obese. Those are the three different groups that they had watch or journal their calorie intake, their food intake to see how they estimated what they did. And during that, it was the 8-day period. I think they had to at least record 3 days of journaling their food, everything they ate, and then 3 days wearing a that funny word calometer thingy that measured activity. So, which I didn't see much of any at all activity incorporated in the assessment, the breakdown. But yeah, in short, they found that people over or under 25 BMI were better estimated their food. But I think the main takeaway from this, not to dive too much deeper for anybody else's points, but one of the things that they saw that was common was people underestimated their fat intake and overestimated their protein intake. And this is something that I happened with me the last couple of times I've started counting macros is, I've counted for a long time before and I feel like I've had a pretty good grasp on it. But the last time I started for a while, I was way over on fat and my protein was pretty close. It wasn't like spot on, but I mean, I think I was like 20 under or something like that. Nothing too crazy, but fat was definitely one of those that is really hard to not regulate right unless you're actually reading and paying attention because there could be way more fat in things that you even realize and like even like dry baked goods or anything like that because fat can be in anything. So that's one main thing that was it was I think it was a cool takeaway or a cool look. It was very unique. It definitely new from anything else that we have looked at before. And so I think the paying attention, it just goes to show that you can't really do intuitive eating. You can't estimate if you are actually serious. You need to actually like measure and do your due diligence because what you think is completely false. And and funny enough, just last week I saw a post on Instagram that was talking about this and how if you're trying to only eat 1,200 calories and you're kind of eyeballing your food, it's you might think you're having one serving of peanut butter, but that one scoop or one serving you're having that you have it measured is actually 3 times the size that you think it is. And that goes to show you for coffee creamer, salad dressings, and also the last part that we always talk about is that all calories still count on the weekends.
Fake news.
I have a post to go, a social media post to go along with this when I post it. Kyle?
Yeah, so this is something interesting as well. What you were talking about with portion sizes, right? So when I was making Hannah's lunches for school, obviously it's summertime and not in school, so I don't make lunches anymore. But when Hannah was on, now Hannah will go through cycles. She'll go through cycles of macro counting, and I'll go through cycles of macro counting too, based on my goals. But when Hannah's on the women's health track specifically, and she's doing the carb cycling, and she's counting her macros, and so Hannah would have almonds with her lunch every day, but one serving of almonds, and she made sure that when I was packing her lunch, it was only one serving of almonds. Don't just give me some almonds, like give me one serving. Does anyone here know how many almonds is in one serving?
I think it's 5.
It's about how many can fit in my hand?
15.
It's 28.
Oh,
28 almonds in one serving. And so that is stuck in my brain. Like I know what one serving of almonds is.
28.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna fact
28.
check
Nothing
that.
worse than counting.
Well, wouldn't that be
almonds.
dependent
Go.
on the?
It would be dependent on which almonds you're buying, but the
Right.
almonds that we were buying. It was
Yeah.
28 almonds, 28 pieces. So it's like, it's exactly what Joe was saying. It's like when it comes to counting macros, when it comes to tracking your nutrition, there's a lot that goes into it. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. I think a lot of people don't realize how much actually goes into tracking everything that goes in your body. And so for me, with coaching specifically here, I'm just going to kind of ignore the study and just skip to what I want to say. Because Joe pretty much covered what the study said. But I would just say most people are not ready for macro counting. Like that's just what I like. I know that macro counting is kind of I don't want to call it a trendy thing, but it's kind of a trendy thing right now of like everybody that's coming for coaching wants a macro plan. And it's like, well, I would love to give you a macro plan and I can give you a macro plan, but let's talk about some other things first. And let me see if you're actually ready for a macro plan. And the truth of it is most people are not. And so what I would say for most people is macro counting is not where you need to go. It's definitely not where you need to start, in my opinion, when it comes to dialing in your nutrition. I think you just need to build some steady habits, some solid habits, and stick to those things and focus on a couple of different things and make a couple of small changes over time before you try to jump into macro counting. Because as we see in the study, most people were not reporting, they were underreporting. Most people weren't reporting exactly what was happening, and because they didn't actually realize what was actually happening. And so, I think there's some psychological stuff that comes into that too. Maybe if you're coaching or in coaching or you're doing something for a study and you're, maybe just psychologically, you're like, well, I didn't actually hit my number, but if I tell my coach that I didn't hit my number, then I'll be in trouble. So let me do something here and kind of fudge the numbers a little bit. I think some people do that, you know what I mean? Sometimes it gets in their head. But also I just think that most people are not taught, are not coached and trained to understand what is actually in the food that they're eating. And so they wind up either underreporting or overreporting. And so they need some help with that. And so, but my big takeaway was just that most people probably don't need to start with macro counting anyway, that you need some different habits instead before you go to macro counting. Ashley. Sorry, I kind of went.
No,
Sorry.
that's fine. And I mean, to kind of further your point, like in Women's Health Track, we do count macros, we do some carb cycling, but we also do weekly goals. And a lot of it is let's focus on like the quality of food you're eating. So we'll even talk about like, here's a vegetable goal for the week. Let's try to hit this, or a fiber goal, or even like hydration. Because when a lot of ladies come in, especially like looking at this study too, that's the hardest things. The first couple of weeks, they're like, oh, I don't know if I'll ever be able to hit this macro goal, because you're right. Especially if you're starting from scratch, it can be hard. And what I try to do as well is if they are able to join while we're doing Fit Week, is go ahead, download that My Macros Plus or MyFitnessPal and just track, like you don't have a macro count, just track to see like what you eat normally and kind of get in that routine. But then it also is super eye-opening what Joe was talking about, like how much fat you've been eating, how much protein you have not been eating, stuff like that. And especially with like Joe talked about, even like peanut butter servings, but even like oil and cooking, people don't think to track that stuff. And it's like, no, you have to track every single thing that's going in your body, and that oil is still going into your body, even if it's a tablespoon of olive oil. I just wanted
to jump because it's related. When we were doing our macro counting for a while, I'm just so used to cooking, like sauteing some things up. I put the oil in a pan and Liz would be like, how much was that? I don't know. Cover the pan. I'm cooking. She's like, no, we need to measure that. And so many times she would get on me about that, and I just always forget. So I'm just like, that's a tablespoon. Yeah, that's a tablespoon. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's something too, Ashley, that I do as well. Like when people first come in and want nutrition coaching, I'm like, all right, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to track a week of everything that you eat and everything that you drink. And there's a couple things to that. I want them to see what they're actually eating and drinking. And also I want them to see what it takes to actually track everything, because a lot of people aren't used to it, and so they need some experience. And so I just say just a week and don't make any changes. Like just whatever your normal week would be, track it for a week and just see all of those things.
Yeah. So I think because of the whole underestimating, that they did not give the correct amount of what they actually intook. Is that even a word? Intake, whatever. I think that you need, I think that you need to track correctly. And Jerred kind of talked about this the last time, and Joe touched on it about like still tracking over the weekends, because they only did 3 days out of the week, right? And so I love the idea that Jerred kind of brought. It was like, take the average over 7 days of what you've done, because if you only are tracking, let's say for the 2 days out of the week that they did and 1 day out of the week, who knows what they were doing the other 4 days out of the week, which can completely blow everything out of the water, especially if you have goals to, I want to continue to lose weight, like, the maintainers that were not able to accurately say what they were into. And then it also not surprised me, but it was just shocking, I guess, that how the people who were not over the BMI that they were under were able to calculate better their intake, I guess. So interesting study. I'll give my killing comfort after Jerred gives his takeaways. I'm quite interested to see what you have to say about this, Jerred.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump back into the study at the conclusion. This is the actual conclusion from the study. Weight loss maintainers underreported energy intake in both absolute and relative terms to a greater extent than normal body weight and controls with overweight/obesity. These findings call into question the accuracy of self-reported energy intake in weight loss maintainers published in previous studies and align with recent data suggesting that weight loss maintenance rely less on chronic energy intake restriction and more on high levels of physical activity to maintain weight loss. Sorry, that was a hard paragraph to read because half of it was in acronyms. And so I had to recall what they were. But ultimately they're saying they think that there's more to it than because the weight loss maintainers are supposed to be the winners here, right? They're the ones who have lost the weight and they've kept it off for a year. So they should be the champions of knowing how much calories they're consuming, burning, all these things, but they weren't. They did not win this. If it was a contest, they lost, compared to the other two groups. But they're ultimately the winners because they have lost a bunch of weight. What was it, greater than 25 pounds or 30 pounds, whichever one it was. And they've kept it off for a year, which is an impressive thing to do because most people, when they lose weight, they gain it right back. That's just what the stats say. That's what the data says. So I think my takeaway is similar to the conclusion is there's a lot more going on here than calories in, calories out, estimating all these things. Because if you look at everything that we use or you could use to track your calories, there are studies saying that your fitness tracker can be off up to 30% in estimating your calorie expenditure during the day. Okay, great. Per federal law, nutrition labels can be off by 20% in calories. Okay, awesome. And if you're a food manufacturer, you're probably going to want to be off on the low end because no one's going to want to favor a high calorie food, right? So this is probably a conscious decision a lot of food companies make. They're like, oh shit, that says 300 calories. Like, can we bump that down by 20% because we'll still be within, what's regulated? So there's that. There's nutrition labels working against you. Your tracker doesn't know how much you're burning. And the only real way to do this if on your own is to go to some untrustworthy website that has some sort of calorie calculator on there and 400 different ads and hope that you got a good source for estimating your calories and then track. And then now we bring to you eating things like Joe mentioned. Did you track how much oil went in the pan? And also, when you're putting the food back on your plate, did all the oil get out of the pan or did some of the oil stay in the pan? When you make a shake, did you consume that entire shake or was the shake so thick that there's still a lot left around the edges in the blender? and to where some of the calories are being lost. And so I'm just painting a picture for you here that it seems relatively impossible to be 100% accurate in these things. And so it should be okay with you to not even try to be accurate. Not don't try, just try to be accurate, because that's just going to stress you out. Hitting on Kyle's point with who's ready for a macro plan and who's not is really good, because a lot of people are not. Something that we teach in our coaching course is the mental toughness assessment or audit, where we kind of track, when we start working with you, we want to know what your ability to take on new behaviors or new habits, like where we think that you are in that. And if you're kind of overloaded, or you, and this is in the book Killing Comfort, if you want to read it, we put the mental toughness audit in there because it's something I've used over and over again. So giving someone who's not trained in these things a macronutrient plan is not changing one habit. It's not like, okay, you got a macro plan. This changes like 47 habits all at once to give you a macro plan. You're tracking, which is hard. You're using a new app, which is another added habit. You're eating things you don't normally do. You're shopping away you don't normally shop. You're probably breaking, you're probably breaking some bad habits of eating out. And so like, to go on a macronutrient plan is not one thing, it's a lot of things, and it's very hard to stick to. So how on earth can these people who lost a lot of weight maintain this weight loss, but suck at estimating it when they're actually eating it? And so my ultimate takeaway for this is just, it's a lifestyle. And if you want radical change, you're going to have to implement a radical lifestyle change. And I wish there was some easier button, but that's not what we do here. We don't sit around and tell you the easy button. We always tell you the unsexy things. And somehow this business still exists. We're the antithesis of a regular fitness company, but somehow we still succeed. So what I'm telling you is, if you or someone in your life wants a radical change, it's going to take a radical lifestyle change. But that doesn't mean you can't start small. Okay. It doesn't mean that you have to do the overhaul and expect to succeed. You have to start with these smaller habits that build one after the other. And it's going to take a very long time, is the unfortunate truth. But that's what you have to do if you really want to see change. And you don't need to worry so much about the mathematics of perfection. Instead, you just need to get comfortable with doing the simple things that are going to lead to your success, and don't worry so much about that perfectionist mentality.
So thanks for taking my Killing Comfort tip.
So let's get into it. That's a new thing that we want to do. How can all the listeners kill some comfort and apply what we have gone over here in the study? Joe, I definitely want to hear you first.
Oh, thanks. I mean, it's probably gonna be the similar or same to everybody's, but I was gonna say do actual tracking for 7 days, including the weekend, just to see what the difference is, or do a journal like this for 7 days and then go back and calculate every day after the 7 days and see what the difference is. So live your normal 5 days and your normal weekend, what you would normally do, write down the quantities of everything, then calculate it afterwards and see if and how if there's a difference for your weekend self and your daily during the week self. Oh, Ashley.
You forgot the rule. I said for killing comfort, you have to put in the hard work. And whether that be kind of what Jerred talked about, where you're just living the lifestyle and doing small things, or if you're taking the plunge and you're actually tracking, make sure to estimate. I'm going to say estimate because you're right. It's not going to be 100% accurate. But the results will come if you put in the hard work. Kyle.
My Killing Comfort tip for the athletes, and this is speaking from experience, having been an athlete with Garage Gym Athlete and having lost a lot of weight and having maintained that weight loss for years now, is be open to experimentation, which is uncomfortable. Sometimes people just want to eat what they are comfortable eating. And I would also say be patient enough to spend the time to learn what's right for you and what's not, what works for you and what doesn't. Being patient, I think, is probably pretty uncomfortable for most people. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe you guys are patient. you listeners are patient. I'm not. And so that was definitely uncomfortable for me. And I during my time as just an athlete before I joined the coaching team, it took me 9 months. I lost 65 pounds, but it took me 9 months to do it. And I don't have time on this podcast to tell you how many habits I had to form, how many habits I had to break. I can't tell you how many, I don't know how, frustrated Jerred got with me while he was coaching me, but, with some of my check-ins and things but like there were things that I had to learn to do and things I had to learn to not do. And what the comfort that I had to kill was being patient. And understanding that there are going to be ups and downs and that it's going to take time, and being open to experimenting with new things, and things I thought would work didn't work, things I didn't think would work did, all those kinds of things. So that's my killing comfort tip. Jerred.
Yeah, I'm just going to go really painful here and just say change your lifestyle. Yeah, how about that? That's a pretty uncomfortable thing. So you're going to have to change your entire lifestyle. Like I don't actually understand why I haven't tracked macros in a very long time now. I used to do it periodically, and now I don't even touch it because I was just like so mad at it. I don't like doing it at all because I've done it really strict time periods of my life that probably broke my brain a little bit. But my weight, like, it just stays the same. And then I'm not saying like, oh, look at me, I'm so awesome. I'm just saying it stays the same. But it's through breaking my brain and going through those habits that eventually made it a lifestyle, to where I knew what was too much and I knew what was too little. And I can make those adjustments. But it's been a pain in the ass, and it's been a lot of time. I don't know. I need to count up the years, but I think we're getting close to, it is getting very close to 20 years of doing this stuff. Cause I started at a pretty young age, and that's a long time. And that's another very unsexy thing I'm trying to sell you there. I'm trying to try really hard for decades, and maybe you won't have to count macros. That's the takeaway there. But no, I think changing your lifestyle is the only option for people succeeding. And this is just what I've seen throughout coaching over and over again. I want to give people a macro plan, or I want to give them this fitness plan. Want to give them the one thing, but it's not. And I realize this more the more and more I train with my brother, who's, I mentioned on the podcast, he's starting to come with me. He's pretty overweight. He's losing some weight now, but I'm like, bro, I have to get into so many, I have to invade your life for you to see results. Like, you can't just you can come exercise with me for an hour a day. That's fine. You're going to lose some weight just because your inactivity being at all-time low to now working out. Yeah, you're going to lose some weight. But if you want this radical change, I'm going to have to talk to you about your sleep, your water intake, what you're eating on a daily basis, your stress levels. We have to talk about everything, and you have to change it all, but we have to start small. So start small, but do make the ultimate goal, not this losing 50 pounds or running this fast or whatever. Make it a lifestyle. I want fitness and health to be a lifestyle, and that's a very uncomfortable thing to do. All right,
Concur.
let's get into the topic. This is from Dylan. Are we going to do all of them? Well, I guess there's 3 questions. Okay.
Somewhat related.
Yeah. So we're bringing the AMA section of the podcast that we used to publish weekly. Occasionally we're bringing it in here as the topic, unless we're covering a book or something else that we would like to cover. So this is from Dylan, and it is a question. There are a few questions that I think are all related. I'm coming off about a full cycle of cut/calorie deficit, and I found that my performance during this fit week was not where I was wanting it to be. My lifts were all down from the previous fit week. Squat was 30 pounds lower, for example, and push-ups, pull-ups, and dips were all down, several reps as well. Is it common to see a loss in strength and a drop in performance like that during or immediately after a cut? If so, are there things to do when cutting to help minimize a loss of strength? Also related, for lifts that call for a percentage of max, should I keep using my previous fit week max or the newer lower max set this fit week? All right. I know you guys think they're all related, but I could probably spend 10 minutes in each question. So
Sure.
let's just take our broad picture, what we our answer to Dylan, how we each see it and how we think we can help him kind of navigate this issue.
So I think the goals are different from each other. Like I think if you're going to be in a caloric deficit or you're cutting, is going to be different than if you want to maintain your strength or even get stronger. I'm not saying that you can't get stronger, but you're going to, in my personal opinion, probably see some lower numbers because it's just is it physics where it's just like more mass is going to be able to move more weight, right? So then
Right.
you lose mass, and then again, like he saw, potentially your numbers might be lower. So I think if I was giving someone advice on this, I would say, what is the more important goal that you're trying to reach first? What did you want to do? Did you want to shed the weight, and then focus on your strength, or vice versa, or what it is? So, and then not every fit week is the same is the other thing I was going to say. Like, don't get discouraged because one fit week looked different from the others. And yeah, that's my big overall picture. I could go further, but Kyle, what is your overall picture?
Yeah, so I agree with you with fit week. Like there's so many factors that go into a max attempt, right? There's so many things that go into fit week and going into reestablishing your maxes and your run times and all those kinds of things. There's so many factors that go into that. And honestly, if you did fit week, you know, a couple weeks in a row, like you would get different results, and maybe those results would be higher one week, maybe, you know, maybe not, whatever, but there's a lot of things that go into that. And so from one fit week to the next is different for everybody. And so like Ashley said, don't be discouraged by your maxes going down. I would say reassess what you really want, like what you truly want. Do you truly want the body composition, or do you want to build strength? And reassess what you truly want and then go from there. I would say, as far as like your max is being lower, I always take whatever my max from that fit week is. Those are going to be my numbers for the cycle moving forward. Whether they're lower or higher than they were the previous fit week doesn't matter to me, because the cycle moving forward is based on where I was during that fit week immediately previous. So that's what I would say. I would say if your squat went down 30 pounds, that's a bummer, but that's the number that you need to use for squats moving forward. And it'll come back. Like if you've been there, you know, you'll get back there again. Like that's just how it goes. So that's what I would say. And I would also say, just understand like I said, reassess your goals and understand what you're trying to accomplish. And so don't have contradicting goals or things like that. Try to focus on one thing and move towards that thing. When you achieve that, reassess and move towards a new goal. Joe.
So cycle to cycle and day to day, maxes, PRs, and efforts can change on the fly. Just depending on how you're feeling, and especially with the deficit, it can be that way. For example, this past fit week, Liz was like 8 or 9 days after the second vaccine shot, and she barely even got 90% of her weights. But then this past week, she hit like 3 reps on 90 of squats or whatever. So like strength can bounce back if you are just having a bad week, whether it was not enough energy, not enough calories, not, you know, sick, whatever. Strength can bounce back pretty fast. And I'm going to kind of tug you in the opposite direction as Kyle. And that is, I've never lowered my max once it's set, unless I'm like injured or whatever. I've never actually like had to lower my max cycle to cycle, because I figure, okay, I probably just wasn't feeling it that day or something. And I can also adjust on the fly. So there's going to be days where I might, if I need to lower the weight for a little bit for whatever the reps are doing, as long as I'm hitting that right stimulus of those sets, unless I'm hitting those sets right, then I'm fine. But I know that strength can bounce back, and that if you're coming off of your calorie deficit and you're going back to maintaining, then I think your strength can bounce back as well. And so you can adjust day to day on the actual strength portions if you need to, like come down like 10% starting off, but go by how it feels and try and get close to those numbers. as long as you're hitting the right as long as you're hitting the sets right. So a little bit opposite of what Kyle said, but that's just how I go about things. Even if I've like taken time off barbells and stuff, just because I like to try and get back to what I was lifting.
Yeah, so I'll clarify. I agree with you, Joe. That's just whatever my fit week weight is, that's what I'm going to put in my app, and that's where the calculations are going to be. If I go into a workout and I'm at this set weight and I'm feeling really good, and that weight is not heavy for me anymore, or I'm able to move and I feel like I can up the weight a little bit, then I'll up the weight a little bit, but that's based on feel. But I'm just, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna set my maxes, my current maxes, as whatever my current max was on Fit Week in the app, and let the app do the calculations for me, and then I can adjust on the fly as well if I need to. But I just feel like that's kind of what the app is for. It's to do those calculations for you and those kinds of things. So that's at least going to be my starting point. And if I really have dropped 30 pounds over a cycle, but I'm trying to work from my previous, from 30 pounds heavier, then you could be running into, technique issues and form issues and things like that. So that's just kind of, I'd use it as a starting point of whatever my current max is where I start. And if I need to adjust it, I can.
Jerred?
Yeah, I lose weight on lifts all the time and make adjustments. It seems to, if I'm not focusing a lot on my squat or I'm not wanting to go heavy, like my like resting max squat, if you will, is somewhere in the 375 to 405 range. And then I have to work really hard to get it above that, but that's just kind of where it's at, which could be like, if I were to squat today and I got 375, that would be 90 pounds off what I did a few months ago. And I wouldn't even be that upset about it. You can come back like pretty fast. So do know those things, but I have your athlete profile pulled up, Dylan. I'm not going to read off any personal information. Don't worry. But I was just trying to look at your numbers where I could get better context, because a drop of 30 pounds in the squat, I need to know what you're squatting to know how much that matters. And for you, it does seem like that would matter. So it was a significant, and just to brag on Dylan, he's incredibly consistent. He's fast and he's pretty strong, but I won't, like I said, reveal any other information about beyond what he wanted us to share. But I think that my honest takeaway is you went way too aggressive on the cut. I think that's it. I think just kind of going back to what we were talking about, really, I mean, probably over the last two podcast episodes, is just take a little bit more of a long-term approach. And don't worry, if you want to lose some weight, you can do that a little bit more slowly in the future, and spread it out over a couple of cycles instead of this aggressive cut, because they are conflicting goals. Trying to cut a bunch of weight, but also gain strength. I'm not going to say it's impossible, because we're not talking about hypertrophy. Those are directly conflicting. They're opposite ends of the spectrum. That's not, you're like, I lost some muscle mass while trying to lose weight. It's like, well, that happens. You got weaker, and you're not seeing as much performance. So I'll echo a lot of what the rest of the coaches said, is, things can be different week to week, depending on how stressful your job was, how much you slept, how your nutrition was, what you ate, all those things. But in this case, I really feel like you just went too aggressive on the cut, and it was too much, and your body wasn't ready for it. It's probably a lot of stress, actual physiological stress on your body to try and do both. But like I said, I could honestly be 90 pounds down on my squat right now, and I know I can close that gap in 8 to 12 weeks. And you're going to be no different. If you really want that strength to come back, once you've been there, it's a lot easier to get back, unless you just stopped working out. That's where it's different. If you take a 5-year break in fitness, you're basically starting back over. But if you've been there before, you can get back pretty easily. And so I wouldn't be too discouraged. Just, if you want to continue the weight loss, spread it out over a longer time period. If you don't, cool, go all in on strength. Maybe just go and maintain from there. But given your body weight, I think that where your squat is at is perfectly fine, and you can get back pretty easily.
Yeah, I would throw in too, like, understand, like, where you're getting your information from. If you're coming to us, for coaching, then we're going to try to, just like Jerred said, we're going to coach you towards a longer term view. If you're just going to the internet in general, as far as like information on how to cut, then you're going to run into advice from people who are more bodybuilders, or people who are fitness models, or people who are maybe combat athletes or something like that, because like a cut for them is much, much different than somebody who's just trying to lose some extra body fat. You know what I mean? Like for bodybuilders, like they're going to cut for a show, and like strength is not their focus. They don't care how strong they are, because a bodybuilding competition is not about how strong you are. It's about how defined your muscles are. That's it. And it'd be the same thing for like fitness models, or it'd be the same thing for fighters. It doesn't matter in a fight how much strength you can. It doesn't matter in a fight how much weight you can move. It matters, can you beat that other person in the ring, right? And so understand where your information is coming from as well, and don't go, be careful about how you do a cut as a normal person who's just going about everyday life trying to lose a little extra body fat, versus a professional who's dialing it in for something specific that you're not doing.
All right, let's get into the workout. Fantastic, Joe says. Who's briefing it?
It's a 5K, so this is Ashley's baby.
That's right. It's my favorite. It's 6 rounds. It's EO3 5K. So it's 6 rounds of an 800-meter run. And after the run, you do 3 rounds of 5 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, and 15 air squats. Once you are done with that 6 rounds, you rest 3 minutes and do a 100-meter sprint. Then rest another 60 seconds, and then do your last 100-meter sprint. And that's the EO3 5K.
Tips, tricks, strategies. What do we have? I feel like we've probably given we're about tipped out on this one, just because we
have
briefed
to do it
so
every 12
times.
weeks.
Yeah, but it is something that we test during Fit Week to see improvement on. So what do we have?
So I'll dust off my regular one, and that is to go at the run at about 85 to 90% effort, even the first one, and try and keep that same pace for all 6, because the first couple runs might feel good. Usually when I've done this, the first 3 runs, I'm feeling fast, I'm feeling good, but then it catches up to you, especially if you're doing calisthenics as fast as possible, which you should, because the calisthenics are probably the easiest part, but it's maintaining that 90% pace on the run. So, much like we say with Murph, don't go hot out the gate on your first run, because you need to do it over and over again. So set a pretty good pace on the first couple runs and try and maintain that for all of them. And then if you need be, go faster on the later ones if you can. Kyle.
Oh, okay. I would say the last 2 sprints are sprints, all caps. Everything
and
you got.
That they are there. They exist.
They are there. They actually are there. You're not done after the 6 rounds. Like you gotta rest and then sprint and then rest and then sprint. Make sure that you're doing that part. But like I said, they are sprints. Everything you got, 100%. This isn't a pace cut thing anymore. Give it everything you got. I would also talk about just mindset a little bit. For me, when I do this one, like those sprints at the end, like even though I'm tired, because of all the running and calisthenics and all that stuff that I've already done, like I kind of actually get frustrated with the rest time at the end of this one, because
you see your time going
I just
up.
want to do the sprints and be done with it. Yeah. Well, but like I want to go ahead and do the sprints and get them over with. So like I would just say my challenge would kind of be, can you be patient? Can you recover the way that you should during that rest time? Like really focus on your breathing, getting it regulated. Take that time, especially that 3-minute time before that first sprint. Take that time to really focus on practicing some breathing, practicing getting your heart rate back in rhythm, and those other things that we talk about. Take that time to really focus on that, and don't just, hate your life and things like that. Man, I've still got to wait, and I've still got to sprint at the end of this. So that's what I would say, Ashley.
Yeah, I think we all joke that it should at least take you 4 minutes to do this workout, because it takes 4 minutes of rest. I guess I would just challenge people to, when you're doing the calisthenics, the 3 rounds, like try not to break it up, do it exactly, the 5, 10, 15, and just go for it. And just crush it as fast as you can. That would be my challenge. I think Joe and I are in the same camp as this one. And I think Kyle and Jerred were on the same camp. We were evenly divided last time. Maybe not. Okay.
What are you talking about?
That the
No, Jerred and VD, our team, run as fast as you can.
That's what it was. BD. Never mind. You're right. So that's my little challenge. Jerred, do you have a challenge?
Yeah, I do actually. It was a challenge for me this week, and similar to Joe, but with more strict parameters. He was mentioning keep pacing the 800 meters a little bit, and I think a true challenge here: set a time for your 800 meter runs, and try and keep plus or minus 5 seconds for all 6 rounds. Actually, see if you can do that. That means you're going to have to pick an appropriate pace for the first one. It doesn't mean you're going to have to pick a fast pace for the first one and then pray to God that you make it for the rest of them. It means you're going to have to be smart about your pacing. But, if you've been an athlete for a long time, or like all of us, we do this workout pretty regularly, you kind of have to find new ways to challenge yourself, because I don't want to just go faster. I don't want that to be my goal. Like, I would love to PR every time, but that's just not realistic for the rest of my life to always PR the EO3 5K. So I find other ways to make workouts interesting and still challenge me. And so if I go into this workout knowing my only goal is plus or minus 5 seconds from the first 800 meter run, it might change how I do the calisthenics. Maybe I'm like, okay, that was hard. I'm going to go a little bit slower on the calisthenics. And then so this is like becomes a different workout, right? Like I'm only focusing on this sustainability and repeatability, to where the next time I do this workout in another 12 weeks, I can just go full on. I'm going to keep this pace because I'm smarter. I've learned more from the last time. I'm going to keep this pace and go faster on the calisthenics, and then I'm going to PR. So it's like fixing one part of the workout at a time to be able to PR later. And so that's my challenge to you, especially for the long time athletes. See if you can get that plus or minus 5 seconds on the 800 meter run, and then punish yourself if you don't, some optional
burpees,
runs or something like that.
Burpees aren't punishment.
Yeah. I said specifically punish you, and I also didn't suggest burpees. So you punish yourself however you want to. Maybe a cold plunge.
Ooh.
But nice. Let's get into updates, because the community misses us. And so if you're listening, if you're just listening for the basic study topic and workout stuff, that's kind of over. We're gonna get to how life's going for the team, and then we're gonna get out of here. So, Joe, how's life? Updates at the end.
Fine. Oh man, I actually had a workout this week. 2 workouts this week that were less than 100 degrees. So that's exciting.
Nice.
I haven't.
A cold chill, yeah, coming through. Website wise, so it is Fit Week. Even though, if you know it's EO3 5K, that means it's Fit Week. So jump on and do Fit Week. I have one quick update. My one that was burning me a little bit yesterday that I wanted to say the update in the team meeting, but I didn't. And that was yesterday at the gym. I saw a guy using the GHD to do dumbbell preacher curls, and I about threw 2.5 at him.
What?
Come on, he's just getting creative. Don't be mean.
Yeah. Oh no, that's another problem with it being less than 100 degrees, because like for
all
2
the bros
days
come out.
Yeah, all the bros, they're actually like, oh wait, we actually go to the outdoor gym now. So now I actually want it to get hotter so that I have my space because less people are there. Only the serious athletes come when it's 100 degrees. So that's those things. And
did you go educate him, or did you just stew about it and save it for the podcast?
I just couldn't even, man. I was trying to figure out if I could take a picture of it. But no, that's not me. No, I just let it go because I wanted to get my workout in. And then because it's been a while, just I guess a humble brag on this one, but I
can't wait.
That's what these updates are for, right?
Yeah.
So last Fit Week in March, I PR'd my back squat by 20 pounds. And then the week after that, I left the country for 2.5 weeks. Didn't really work out. Came back, had like 1 week of workouts, and then did Murph Burner. So I essentially did back squats once since upping my back squat PR. And whenever you do that, obviously all of your percentage based lifts have gone up. So we were doing some heavy lifting in strength, and I was pretty scared to just jump back in. I was like, man, I got to lift 85 and 90% today, and I haven't really touched a barbell in a while. Well, I guess this goes for, on the subject earlier of strength gains, or you don't lose them that quick, and also the ridiculous amount of air squat volume we did in Murph Burner, and that I crushed my squats. I was doing 85 just fine without a belt, and 90 felt like butter. It was fantastic.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Awesome.
yes.
Because
The
it's
squats
squatting.
now. Yeah.
That's 85 and 90%, not 85 and 90 pounds, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Let's
Just clearing that
clarify.
up. Just clearing that up.
Yes.
Humble brag that 85 pounds felt like butter.
Woohoo.
And my press is the exact opposite going on right now. But that's besides the point.
Because everybody's press is that way.
It sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I've had to dial my press a whole lot back for months because of my shoulder injury. It's just like pain that's going on. But the pain is finally cleared up, which also cleared up from Murph Burner because I had to do a shit ton of pull-ups. So, and really work on lat mobility. So, yay to the Murph Burner.
Yeah.
Just
That you
toot that
can't be a
horn a little
part
bit.
of now or purchase. So
Right.
Sorry.
This thing that you missed out on was really good for me.
Yeah. Catch us next year.
Life is good here. We are selling one of the we own multiple properties, so we're selling one of the properties, and we're hopefully going to close at the end of this month. But like always, we've always got some hiccups, some fun things to deal with as you are going through the process. But my little update is I love my child a lot, but it's like they've got a sixth sense when the other parent is out of town. That things I call it the TDY curse. Emily and I talk about it all the time, Jerred. When you're gone, stuff just happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that is what has happened to the Hicks household with my little one. He transitioned into a toddler bed very easy and sleeps, naps in it, does fine. But in the morning, he turns his little sound machine off and opens his door and comes out. So that means at 5:15 in the morning, when he thinks he's awake, that this is what he does. So I don't know. We're trying to figure things out with him, trying to keep him in his room a little longer. Because Scott and I get up pretty early. Scott is normally like a 5 a.m., 4:30 a.m. guy. I'm more of a 5:30, 6 a.m. So when I'm by myself and my kid wakes me up earlier than what I want, it's it's a little infuriating. But I feel like they're little guerrilla warfare fighters. You feel like you learn their tactics, and then all of a sudden they change it up on you. And they're like, trying to figure this out.
They're unicorns.
You're not wrong. So,
This thing about unicorns, man.
Dude, I love unicorns. Not as much as the three of you, but I do. I am a huge fan of unicorns.
Here we go. Anyways.
I just pissed off the whole team. I should probably just go ahead and
how do we kick him
skip
out?
the rest of the updates and end it.
Can we kick out the host of the meeting?
Yeah, can we?
How do we do
kick
that?
out those?
We'll Google that.
Kyle, what's your update?
Summertime living is great. Having Hannah, what are you snickering about? I meant that.
Sounded sarcastic.
So that was your update.
That's not sarcastic.
Summer.
No, summer. No, it's great having Hannah and the kids at home. It's an adjustment, but I love it. I'm glad that they're here. Also, second disc golf tournament in the books from last
Right,
weekend.
we're disc golf athletes.
Did you win?
I did better than last time. But no, I didn't win. Still not that. Also, related, the Polar Watch has disc golf as a sport profile, so I can track disc golf specifically when I play.
Oh, that thing's
Yeah,
sharp
I think-
looking.
Oh, it is. It is sharp looking. Look at that.
Disc golf is like interval walking.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's one
But-
explosive movement you do at the end of each walk.
Yeah.
Do you even get into zone 2? I'm just
It
curious.
was super hot, and there were some hills that I had to climb. So yeah, heart
Okay.
rate got up a little bit.
The heat
But
can do
yes.
that by itself. Yeah.
But I really just wanted to track how far I walked and track a few other things.
I just like envision like 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off of just walking, stop,
Walking, yeah.
walking,
This is just
stop.
this is just my life for the community. Y'all just understand. This is my life.
This is what he has to deal with.
Jerred just
Oh.
crapping
He's also
on me.
in charge of HR, so he has no one to
Yeah.
bring it to.
I'm googling that booting the host from a Zoom meeting.
Is that everything? Is it up to me now to
Yep. How's our
I'm not-
HQ doing?
I'm not passing it on to you.
HQ
I'm
is
finished.
fine. I mean, they're making as much progress as they could. I don't remember where we left off. They drywalled, they textured the drywall, they tiled the bathroom, they're putting in wood floors today. Making a lot of progress. It's just yeah, no complaints. It just takes a long time, I guess, to build things, longer than expected, but they're all working. We've had like flood rains in Texas for several weeks, which were pretty brutal. But then after we had like a slow start to summer, and then we had flooding level rain, and then summer was here. And so now I've been sending Joe my feels like temperatures because it feels like 107, 109. Humidity is literally 90% plus it's 97 degrees, which is like puts it on par with like Death Valley some days. So it'll even out. The humidity will go down. It's just because of all that rain that we had. So I'm actually really enjoying the hot weather. I'm hoping my brother survives the summer because I'm very accustomed to heat. I've just always trained in the garage. I do the sauna. And this week and last week, he was just like, dude, you got to get like a bigger fan or something. And I was like, and he doesn't know the half of it because this is part of my update. Insulation in your garage really works. And all it'll keep it if all the doors are open and everything, it's just going to maintain the temperature of the outside. And so if it's 96 outside, it'll become 96 in the garage if you have all the doors open. If I leave the doors closed, it will be several degrees cooler, but then there's less airflow. But I'm not seeing any more 120s, 115s that I was operating in last summer. So if you're thinking about insulating your garage, it could be worth it especially if you have a detached space like I did where it was getting brutal. So insulation works, and it was worth it. So
the most expensive garage gym addition that you can't physically use. You can just benefit from.
It's like it's one of those like frustrating. It's like paying for insurance. It's like just you have to pay for it. You don't even want to use it. Like, I don't want to use my insurance for anything, but you have to pay for it. Anyway,
pretty much.
Let's so updates at the end. That was nice. Get update from everybody. But we're gonna get out of here. We have a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes for Garage Gym Athlete, and a lot of new ways for you guys to get involved. As always, you can check out those things at garagegymathlete.com. You can sign up for a 14-day free trial and really just learn more. We have a lot of educational articles and stuff on the website. Listen to the podcasts. There's just a lot of ways to get involved with Garage Gym Athlete. And a lot of you already are, thousands of you in the community. We appreciate each and every single one of you. So thanks for making the community awesome and for being a part of this. We still are accepting questions. You heard us answer Dylan's question today. garagegymathlete.com/AMA is another way to get involved. Those questions will be submitted to us, and then we can answer them on the show how we did today, where each coach gets to chime in and everything else. But that'll do it for this week. And my weekly reminder, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you. Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.